Yay!
And we're back.
Oh my gosh. So somehow the power went out to Chris's whole, whatever you call it over there, that the producer has, the workings. And it wasn't a dog, because the dogs are all accounted for, and it wasn't Jeremy and I, and it wasn't Chris.
At least I don't think it was me, but he fixed it, and it's all good.
So we're going to try Todd one more time. He's probably over us by now. And
third time's the charm.
Really?
It's got to be. I mean,
because I'm thinking three strikes
a lot of people,
out.
But right. That third time's the charm thing, I think, was created by a criminal, a politician.
Ooh.
Same thing. Same thing.
Oh, that's funny. So once again, we are trying desperately to talk to Todd Curtis from airsafe.com. And he has a travel website that helps you navigate safe travels and has things like, what to do if you've got certain issues traveling with kids, those kinds of things. And he has addressed the issues of traveling with marijuana.
Very nice.
Thank you.
It's amazing that there are issues. I mean, it's almost embarrassing. Like, pilots can't have nail clippers, can't have weed.
You have reached 566-787.
He totally gives up. He totally gives up on us. We'll try him one more time, and then we will contact him outside the show. And
wow, that was scary.
Oh, he's calling us.
Hello.
Todd, thank you so much. You're live on the air. Oh, my goodness.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sorry about all those technical difficulties. Looks like the Skype contact was solid as a rock, then poof, it was gone.
Yeah.
Somehow your phone kept disconnecting our computer and shut it down.
He's blaming you for we had a little power surge or power outage, and he's blaming you.
I do have a bit of full disclosure here. At one time in my early career, I did work at the National Security Agency, so perhaps there's a connection.
Goddamn.
That's exactly what it is.
I kid you not.
All right, Todd. So I'm going to ask the question differently, because every time I've asked the question in the same way, something bad has happened. So how did you start airsafe.com?
Well, it was a very simple thing. I was at Boeing. I was a safety engineer involved in a variety of engineering tasks. This is right before the development for the 777 started. And I came on board as sort of like a statistical kind of guy, and I was doing a lot of analyses of accidents and incidents. And I would get the same basic questions all the time from people at work, people at dinner parties, etc. Hey, Todd, when's the last time this plane crashed? Or, hey, Todd, when's the last time, something happened with this airline?
Yeah.
The Internet was just coming on board. We'd barely gotten it at the office. This was back during the old Mosaic browser days. And around about 95, I thought, A, I'm tired of answering these questions all the time. And
yeah.
B, this Internet thing might actually be going someplace. Let me put together a website that answers these questions and see where it goes.
Excellent.
And it's going on 18 years now.
So some of the tabs on your site, like you said, are the plane crashes and recent crashes and rates and crashes by model, things about baggage and carry-on baggage and traveling with kids and security and those kinds of things. So how did you determine the kinds of information that you were going to share? Obviously, some of it was because the questions you kept getting, but clearly you've really expanded on that.
Yes, indeed, and it's a chicken and egg sort of thing. I write the questions because there's an interest in it, and I also write the questions because I think there'll be an interest in it. And I also write the questions because, I see an area here where there is nothing much being written about it in the aviation world. There's obviously interest in general, not about the specific topic, but if I write about it in an aviation context, maybe I'll get some traction. And frankly, recreational marijuana was one of those. That is, clearly there's going to be an interest in people traveling, in part because of this in Colorado and Washington State. And just as clearly, the FAA and TSA have a bare minimum of real live information out there for passengers, but not a whole lot of very practical information. And of course, having written about baggage issues and security issues and TSA issues for years, I said to myself, there's some nuances here that both the TSA would appreciate and the average passenger would appreciate to make their trip a whole lot smoother.
So tell us a little bit about what you would tell travelers about traveling with cannabis.
the biggest thing I would tell people is just to plan ahead. Plan ahead in the sense of understand what the rules are when you get on the ground there. And there may be a few people out there who are thinking, great, I can go and buy cannabis. It's legal. The government says you can sell it in Colorado. I can take it back home with me. And again, they may hear it from one or two people saying, well, you can't take it across state lines. But as with a lot of other things when it comes to public education, it's not a question of getting the right message to someone. It's a question of getting the right message to them all the time, different ways, different venues, subtle and polite reminders here and there so that it becomes something that's second nature. They don't have to think twice about it. And I think that the FAA is saying, well, you can't take it past the TSA and take it on an airline, but except for Colorado Springs and Denver, you can apparently legally take it in the non-secure areas of airports. Now, from my perspective, looking at safety issues for years, if you have that sort of two-sided message, well, gee, if you step across this line in the airport, you can do it. You don't step across that line, you can't do it. That sort of thing is confusing. And when there is a potential for confusion, that's where the opportunity for education happens.
Yeah. So is there a legal way at all to fly, aside from, as you said, from Colorado Springs to Denver, to fly with cannabis?
I believe that, and again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on the internet. I believe there is a legal way to fly with marijuana within the state of Colorado, at least within the state of Colorado. That is, if you have your own private aircraft. The TSA and the FAA clearly ban it from commercial airlines, but I've seen no rule that said anything about private air transport, if you have your own Cessna or your own Learjet for that matter. Now, once you fly across state lines, I think that the basic rules for interstate transportation of marijuana would still apply. That is, doesn't matter what the state laws are. You cross the state line by any means, it's clearly a federal violation. What is not clear to me is whether or not you can fly in a private aircraft within the state, like Colorado or Washington, and do it legally.
So,
barring that, you're basically out of luck.
Yeah. So for the most part, the answer is no.
That's correct. And one of the things I thought about when I thought through the whole process of, gee, what if I'm an average person?
Right.
Let's say someone who, and I defined it on the website, a novice user.
Yeah.
Someone who hasn't used it in several years. In many cases, people who haven't used it since the 70s or the 80s. They think, well, gee, I used to smoke marijuana back then. I know how to handle myself. Well, hypothetical. You land in Colorado, you buy your quarter ounce, and you use up half of it. The flight leaves in a couple hours. You think to yourself, oh, I got the nice, convenient, edible marijuana. I'll just, have my chocolate squares or whatever and go to the airport. Well, edible marijuana may kick in an hour or so after you take it. You might go through security just fine. You get and sit down on the airplane. Suddenly, you're intoxicated to the point of being a hazard to the other passengers and the crew.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no different than, well, geez, should you drink like a fish before you get on an airplane?
That's right.
For the same reason, you shouldn't. But again, if you don't plan out your trip and you sort of leave all the recreational stuff to the very end, you run the risk of having that pressure of, well, gee, I either use it or lose it.
That's right. Have you heard that airports are putting up what they call amnesty boxes? And it is a box where you can, at the airports, put your extra marijuana. No one has talked about what happens with that product when it's put in the amnesty box, other than it's no longer on your person and you don't have to worry about it. But then someone then picks it up and does something with it.
Well, it depends on who's doing the picking up, because, again, I hear stories, official and otherwise, of what happens to contraband that gets put in those boxes.
Yeah.
Years ago, you might have remembered that having a gas, like a Bic lighter, cigarette lighter, was illegal to take on airplanes. Well, it turns out that you can take a single lighter on an airplane right now. Don't ask, because of the potential for wreaking havoc. But one of the stories I heard from an insider is, well, gee, at the TSA we had hundreds of these things being dropped off every day at major airports. How do you dispose of hundreds of lighters filled with fuel? It was a hazard for them. So one of the ways to get around that is, well, gee, we do a risk assessment. We figure out that having a single lighter is okay. We get rid of the problem of disposing of thousands of these things. No one's tried to hijack an airplane with a big lighter. Everybody's cool.
Interesting. So how do you get your information?
A lot of what I have on the site is actually open source, public information.
Okay.
There is a tremendous amount of information about safety, about security, about policies, about laws in various jurisdictions, which you can get online. And a lot of the organizations that are behind, in the case of aviation, NTSB and FAA, are very forward about putting their information in full reach of the public. Even when it comes to marijuana rules in Washington and Colorado, I had no problem within a few minutes tracking down more than enough information to boil down all the minutia into a few pages that could act as a handy-dandy guide for your average passenger.
Yeah. Well, your site is so interesting. It's got so many great tips and ideas and so many different topics, from fear of flying to baggage and those kinds of things. What's some of the information that you intend to add in the future?
Well, as the rules for marijuana roll out in both Washington State and Colorado, and there's more experience of people traveling, that will definitely be an area that will be added onto, because there will be things that I hinted at there, but I don't know which way it'll go. For example, I thought of the hypothetical. What if you're flying into this country from outside the U.S.? You're not a U.S. citizen. You go through passport control, and Customs and Border Protection asks you, well, gee, why are you visiting the United States? Well, I came here to legally smoke recreational marijuana in Colorado. Could be perfectly truthful. Absolutely legal in the state of Colorado. But since it's still illegal on a federal level, it's conceivable that Customs and Border Protection could turn you right around at the border and force you to fly back to your country of origin.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying that people should lie. I'm just saying that one should be aware that one of the many gray areas that exist right now is what happens if someone honestly says they're coming to participate in something quite legal, but at the federal level it's illegal. Now, it's not the same thing as, let's say, someone coming to Vegas saying, I'm coming to Nevada to go to the bunny ranch to legally participate in prostitution. Well, there is no federal prohibition against prostitution.
Right.
There are only state prohibitions, so that's not going to be something that will ding you. But marijuana, that's an open question.
That's right. That's right. Well, interesting. This is just such a helpful website, airsafe.com, and I appreciate the fact that you were thinking about what's going to happen with marijuana tourism, because that's really what this is about. This is about people who are excited about the prospect of coming to Colorado or Washington State to be able to participate in the very interesting purchasing and partaking of recreational cannabis, and then what happens, and then what do you do with it? We've talked a lot about and have heard a lot about cars getting pulled over at the border and those kinds of things. But flying has been something that really hasn't been talked about quite as much, because certainly people are told not to bring marijuana out of Colorado, but people do things that they're told not to do all the time. So this is a really helpful site to remind people that there are rules and laws in place, and here's what they look like.
And there are other issues that I really didn't think about myself until I looked at the recreational marijuana side of things, which is, and I took it for granted, medical marijuana is under the very same rules as recreational marijuana when it comes to the federal government and aviation. Absolutely not allowed on airplanes, even if you have a prescription. And I found that rather surprising, but that's the way it is right now, and for the foreseeable future, it's not going to change. So, and again, I don't get this kind of feedback from passengers. Maybe I will now that I'm on iCannabis Radio. I haven't gotten a lot of things from my airline complaint system. People saying, well, gee, I had a legal prescription for medical marijuana, and they stopped me from taking it on the airplane. I haven't heard of it. Doesn't mean it's not happening. Now, your group might have much more information about that, and if so, by all means, share it with me.
Well, I mean, I think part of the issue may be that there is no such thing as a prescription for marijuana. There's a recommendation that a doctor makes, so that it doesn't have the same kind of protections that prescription medication has. So it's simply a note from a doctor that says, yes, indeed, I think marijuana could possibly help you with X condition. And so it isn't put in the same category as typical pharmaceutical medications. For I think a long time there wasn't as big of an issue about people about TSA looking at marijuana because they had so many other things to look at. But now that that people are coming to Colorado or potentially coming to Colorado just to participate in marijuana tourism, it begs the question. And when a question is asked, an answer must be given. If there's no question asked, there's no answer given. So now we've opened that box, and the answer has to be, there's not a way to fly, and in fact we're not going to tolerate it.
And there might actually be, with existing TSA regulations, some restrictions for marijuana-related paraphernalia that would be not allowed as carry-on baggage. For example, there's a rule that basically says you can have a hand tool up to about 7 inches long, a wrench, screwdriver, that sort of thing. What if you have a metal pipe system of some sort that's a foot long, and conceivably you can grab one end of it and bang someone over the head with it? You bring that in your carry-on bag, the TSA might say, well, gee, you can't carry this as a carry-on. You either have to check it or you have to dispose of it. Well, if you bought some item that's 12 inches long, costs you a couple $100, and it has to be discarded, you'll be pretty upset.
That's right.
Which is not even a marijuana thing, but just having a general understanding of the kinds of restrictions to look out for. And again, I'm not trying to give people an encyclopedic knowledge.
Right.
But if you know that, well, gee, the 7-inch rule, how do I get people to remember that? Well, somewhere on my site, if you look hard enough, there's a place where I put a $100 bill next to a tool. $100 bill, in fact, all U.S. currency is about 6¼ inches long. So I say, hey, if it's longer than a $100 bill, it might not be allowed if it's made out of metal. So you don't have to carry a ruler with you. You just have to whip out some money.
That's perfect. That's really helpful. Well, Todd,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
From the safety role that I was in for a number of years, a lot of safety, a lot of managing risk is about the constant and systematic application of common sense. And one of the common sense things I have to keep in mind all the time is that we're not talking about experts who are actually the ones who make safety happen. It's the people who are in the field actually performing the task or experiencing life as an airline passenger. Their actions contribute to having a safe and risk-free, or at least low-risk flight for everyone.
Yeah.
And doing things such as, gee, what are some things I should not do in the airplane? For example, don't be intoxicated in the airplane. What are some things, and here's where I have to think out of the box. Once you get on the ground in Colorado, what are a couple of things you should, as a passenger, should know to make sure you don't do something stupid or, less than ideal? For example, laws might be changing soon, but as I understand it right now, most banks don't allow transactions that are related to any kind of marijuana business. So conceivably, if you want to buy marijuana, safest thing to do is to take cash.
Right.
Well, that's all very good for us, but what if you're coming from overseas? How do you get a lot of cash? Well, an experienced world traveler knows how to get cash in whatever country they land in. But I'm writing from the perspective of a first-time traveler who may not have gone out of their country, to the U.S., who may not have friends who have done this.
Right.
So I give them practical advice like, hey, you can change it in the money-changing stations in the airport. You can do it in major tourist areas of major cities. Or if you have an ATM card, often you can put it in the ATM system that's compatible with the system you have in your home bank and take out local currency right there. Has the added advantage of, if you take it out at an ATM, no one's going to suspect that you're doing something with it like buying recreational marijuana. And again, if you're coming from overseas, the last thing you may want for a whole lot of countries is a paper trail that says, hey, I might have been engaged in recreational marijuana while I was here in Colorado. I mean, you go back to Pakistan or Iran, who knows what might happen to you.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, I think your site is fantastic, and again I appreciate your thinking really laterally about all the different aspects of what a traveler would need to know, including traveling with cannabis. And we wish you the best of luck. And I hope that you get a lot of exposure. And we will definitely send people your way to visit airsafe.com.
We may have to have you back on actually every couple of months for the cannabis cups. That we'll broadcast out something special for the cannabis cups, especially the stuff here in Denver, because
that's right.
They get huge and tons of people need this information. So we might be contacting you again soon.
Well, in my role as a special contributor for transportation for Al Jazeera America, I'll do my bit to spread the word about what you're doing at iCannabis Radio, and maybe I can have some of those folks get in touch with you And so you can give your message to a broader audience as well.
Absolutely. And as a parting word, we want to say that we are behind you 100% in your third running of the Boston Marathon this
Thank
April.
you very much.
I am a huge runner myself, and Boston has always been on my bucket list.
This is the year to do it right now.
No, it's
This year.
As a third-time runner, the first 2 times I was what they called a bandit, meaning I didn't register or anything. I just showed up on race day. It's unlike any other race I've run. It's like being in a 26-mile parade where you want floats. And one of the highlights for me, Wellesley College is about at the 12-mile point. They have a tradition.
Yep.
Co-eds at Wellesley line up on either side of the road, and they cheer everyone on like they're a rock star. And here it is, I'm coming by 2 hours behind the leaders. The leaders have already finished the race, and I'm just coming up on Wellesley.
Yep.
And they're cheering me like I'm Mick Jagger. It's like, these endorphins kicked in like you wouldn't believe.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
That is fantastic. Tell us what charity you're running for.
The Boston Library Foundation. And if you're interested in learning about what we're doing there or learning about my efforts, marathon.airsafe.com. If you want to know about marijuana and travel, it's marijuana.airsafe.com or cannabis.airsafe.com.
Oh, here we thought we won. We're like, yeah, we have got in his head.
Oh, that's wonderful. Todd Curtis of airsafe.com, thank you so much for being on iCannabis Radio tonight, and we will definitely have you back.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, provided we don't disconnect our entire world. I'm Georgia.
I'm Jeremy.
We'll be right back.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
Hi.
And we're back.
Hi.
I'm that way. How are you? It's Monday night, damn it.
So, right, what are you supposed to do on Monday night?
Exactly.
So, off air, we were talking about, thanks again, Todd Curtis of airsafe.com. It is so interesting how many people who are not kind of intimately involved in the cannabis movement have found themselves involved in the business, involved in the law, involved in all kinds of aspects, just based on the fact that things have changed. And so the cannabis world is bumping up against all kinds of different arenas that it hasn't in the past. I mean, here's someone who has an informational website about air travel, and because of tourism and potential tourism in Colorado and Washington State, felt that it was the right thing to do to add information for travelers about that kind of thing. And clearly Todd did his homework. I mean, he really knew some good information and had a good handle on what the current rules and regulations and laws are in Colorado to be able to help his readership.
Right. And it's nice when people with this kind of valuable, God, I mean, there's so many words to choose from, assets, commodities, I mean, this kind of tool right here, we would not likely know about if there wasn't that bit of crossover. And it's not like a little group of people. I mean, it's
Sorry, there's an elephant in the other room.
Something in there is honking
It's
or
honking.
horking or something.
Honking.
It's not going well in there. To have tools like this is something, like I said, it's real nice to have. And it wouldn't be there had these people not be crossing over. And no, it sounds like a seal at a zoo. Some seals
being
out
clubbed.
there. Or. So again, this is that was nice. It was real nice to listen to him. I found that it's like, okay, I don't have any questions. I just want to listen.
And he's a runner. I like that.
Right? That's and he even made it sound awesome. I'm like, damn, I kind of want to go run in the Boston Marathon. I'd throw up all over the place. It'd be terrible.
Yeah,
I'm nowhere near ready for even a 5K, but still, I could walk a 5K. I could walk a marathon. Well, let's not put my foot in my mouth yet, but I think I could do it. I'm pretty sure I could walk a marathon. I can survive apogea. And I know that we walk miles upon miles upon miles upon miles. You just don't know it because you're walking in circles and squares and off the grid and back on the grid. And yeah.
You can do it,
Right.
especially if you quit smoking.
I don't smoke. I vape heavily. Well, this has been more rare. I mean, it's been picking up
rare.
a little bit more, but I don't usually smoke weed so much anymore. I just
And actually,
dab.
I don't know that that's necessarily true. I don't know that there have been a lot of there's been a lot of research about people who smoke flowers, how that affects their lung capacity. Before
My lack of exercise affects my lung capacity.
Gavin and I went to the candlelight vigil the other night with you, and we ran back to our car. So we had to run up the hill to the Capitol building, run over, and then run back up the hill. And, we're pretty seasoned runners. We were feeling it. We're like, winter's been hard on us. We need to get back out there. I really need to talk about President BHO.
But that's good shit. I was going to say something, and that totally made me forget.
I'm sorry.
No, that's funny.
So of course, everyone's heard by now that President Barack Obama made recent comments that marijuana is less dangerous than alcohol, and that the state of legalization measures are an important move. But when he was asked about whether or not he thinks that marijuana should be descheduled or rescheduled, he balked.
Well, he said it was Congress. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Congress that made it illegal. But how does it get to Congress? Does somebody?
But it doesn't
in Congress,
have to. It doesn't have to.
He's the
punted.
fucking president.
Right.
Yeah, he can say, oh, well, actually, as of this moment, I'm making an official presidential decree. Marijuana is no longer illegal in this country.
And
he
the,
could do that.
The
and it would
DEA
be
could do
just
it.
That simple. Well, no, the DEA is law enforcement. Their job isn't to create laws.
I'm sorry. Hang on. Hold on. Let me read my.
What news source is this? Okay. It's not Fox. That's all that matters. It could be anything but Fox. It could be The Onion, and it's more reliable than Fox News.
Yeah, the Drug Enforcement Administration has the power to reschedule drugs.
But I don't think that's true.
Boom. Well, that's what.
Like, that'd be like saying that the police have power to change the laws. They don't.
Jake
law
Tapper,
enforcement.
CNN's Jake Tapper, said that to Barack Obama in his interview, and his response was, "It's not something by ourselves that we start changing. There are laws undergirding those determinations." So
And this says the guy that bombs countries all the time illegally without congressional consent or the consent of the people.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I thought he'd do a lot more backpedaling about his comment regarding marijuana being less dangerous than alcohol, but clearly they realized that it was dumb for him to backpedal, and now they just need to say that while he agrees with this, he doesn't plan on doing anything about it, because that's essentially what I get.
That's pretty much what I get, and he may be our last chance for a while. I really feel like, we go Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. Like, I haven't seen a year yet where it goes, dang, it got smoky in here. Dang. I gotta watch that on the screen. Holy shit, dude. Where the fuck did I go? I didn't even hit that. I mean, I guess I did by default, but see, now I forgot what we were even saying. I was going to go off on something good, and producer had to produce that.
Oh, this is about to get chewed.
Yeah, but I was somewhere else after that.
Well,
Oh,
I mean, one of our listeners just pointed out that that Nixon's decree is what made it illegal to begin with, and it's there is an element of when something doesn't go well with a Democratic whatever, that there's a bounce back and we end up electing Republicans and so on. I'm not sure if that will happen with this next presidential election, but I'm pretty nervous. I'm sort of nervous no matter what. But gosh, it would make so much sense to look at.
Because if an angry Republican came in office, they could ideally. I mean, they're all going to come in office, but can they somehow come out and renege this and come out and make it all? I mean, they could ideally. They could come out and sue governments, and they could sue Colorado and sue Washington, and
well, certainly it's the Obama administration that has said that they're not going to do anything if those 8 kind of commandments are met, that we protect our kids and don't drink or don't smoke and drive and those kinds of things. But that's an agreement between the Obama administration and these laws. I mean, certainly we could change that.
Did we lose it again?
We're good.
No, we're not now.
Well, no, we're not. Just going to keep talking because it's recording.
Okay. Anyway, I just I wish that someone would say it's worthwhile to take a look at how drugs are scheduled, and the medical benefit that we see in heroin, and the reason why we have it as a Schedule 2 does make sense, doesn't make sense. We should do something about that. It feels like they all should have a pretty nice review.
Well, there's government websites where you can find health information on cannabis, health benefits. I mean, it seems logical to me, and I don't know, this is my scientist side that's going at it this way, but it seems logical to me that if there's even one medical condition met by cannabis, boom, one, that would make it a medical fucking plant right there. And then number 2, we just got to go with the most obvious of things. If medical marijuana is legal in Washington, D.C., I don't understand how by default it's not legalized throughout the nation. I mean, what's good for the goose has got to be good for the horses.
The geeses.
Something.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you've made that point before, and it's so ironic. It's so ironic.
I can't wrap my head around that one, and it yeah.
Yeah.
So, but with that one, with multiple websites, government websites, stating the health benefits of cannabis, whether it's on depression or rheumatoid arthritis or any whole number of things.
Right.
How is it that we're still fighting this? How is this still an issue?
Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, it's astounding to me that we often have legislators that say things like, well, if someone who has cancer or AIDS, I mean, I certainly think that it makes sense for them to use it. Okay, well then therefore you have determined that there's a medical benefit. Anecdotally, without any research, you've decided that.
Right. I mean, several states. I mean, how many states are legal now for medical?
What, 18, 20?
I mean, it's up there. We're getting close to almost half of the country is legal for that. I mean, how much more consensus is needed, for it if it's being
apparently
accepted?
a lot. Apparently a lot.
Like,
Okay. Dogs. We have some crazy dogs.
Stop. God damn it. Everybody just chill the fuck out.
I'm chill.
I pictured how Pulp Fiction. Tell that bitch to chill.
You know, I've never in my life had a moment where I've pictured Pulp Fiction.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know what that says about me, but that happens often.
I don't know what that says about me.
Random fucked up things. Okay, so let's not mess with this wire.
I don't think it was that one.
Well, it was when I fully unplugged it. You unplugged it with but everything froze up, so I thought, well, the dogs bumped against it. You said you unplugged it and it fixed the problem.
But you're not me.
Right, so next time, don't let me do that shit.
That's okay. We're back up. We're back up.
Good God.
So this has been the most technically challenging show we've had ever.
So far, at least of the year. I mean, I don't think we've had a show with this much problem. It was a sex pot radio show, though, where the light bulbs started to explode at random, and that was fucking weird.
It was the ghost of Ron Jeremy.
Something came back in here and just said, "Hey, whoa-pow!" Oh, shit.
He's gross, by the way, just in case anyone's curious.
He was in the Boondock Saints 1. He was one of the mob boss's bitches.
Really?
Well, I mean, he's like his right-hand guy, his enforcer guy, but...
Oh, and the puppies are back.
It's a small part for a guy with such a giant dong. All right, dogs.
I know this is
We should just put it on camera, and we'll just have the last 2 or 3 minutes be dog fights.
It is pretty cute. I have to say that
puppy fights, not dog fights. That's inappropriate. But puppy fights,
right?
That's
Michael
cute.
Vick kind of thing. That's not what we're doing.
Right? No. No, this is puppy love.
GNU outweighs Boone by a significant amount.
And Boone is just kicking his ass because
Boone keeps trying to hump on him and
head.
And he's fixed, and so all I can imagine is he's trying to be dominant. And it's working because GNU is so, just passive and just doesn't care. And he's such a good boy. And Boone is like,
this is Boone.
Yes. Oh, kisses. Boone likes to be on TV. It's like a big thing for him. So we are going to have some fun things that happen in February.
What's going to happen in February? Because February is a terrible month. Well, February is a great month. It just has the dumbest holiday.
President's Day.
Really?
You think President's Day is a good holiday?
I think Valentine's Day is worse than President's Day.
Well, what's wrong with Valentine's Day? Here we go. Oh my God, here's Mr. Negative. Are you ready? Here we go.
Fortunately, Hallmark it's pretty much just a worn-off effect. It's not. I just hate when I have to listen to commercials which I don't. I don't listen to the radio at all anymore, so I don't have to hear it. So I guess it's not such a big deal. I don't really care.
The Shane Company ads and the Jared ads and the
right. Like it's great to be in love. Love is great, but the commercialization of it and this. It's stupid. Like if you love your woman, don't buy her a ring. Just treat her nice. Treat her exceptionally well for a day.
How about every day? There shouldn't be a day where you're like...
No, just one day a year. That bitch has to earn the rest. I'm just kidding.
Every single day.
Every single day she's got to earn that shit, though. So does he. So both parties have to earn that. They can't.
Okay, so I'm going to agree with you that I think that Valentine's Day is an arbitrary, made-up kind of thing that sells a lot of chocolates and flowers and cards.
Based on a massacre. I don't understand how we got this, but it is what it is.
St. Valentine.
We look for jelly beans and Easter eggs celebrating a dude.
Well, we'll talk about that in April.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But
wait. Sorry. Easter's on 420.
Yeah.
Or 420's on Easter. Vice versa. One of the three. One of the four.
Easter's 420.
Right. So the Cannabis Cup, the High Times Cannabis Cup, will be happening that weekend. There will also be a large gathering in Civic Center Park, I think on the 19th this year.
Not on 420?
I don't know. It would be stupid just to do it on the 19th.
It would be stupid.
And not. But...
It would be stupid.
So I don't know. I'm not really sure. I would imagine that people are going to show up on 420 anyway. So Miguel hopefully will have his stuff together. But I'm not counting.
I think it's gonna be interesting this year.
Yep.
I have a feeling that there's going to be a crackdown of public consumption, which there's always been a,
Well, there might be gang fights and stuff if you go to the Civic Center Park one. It's just the way that it goes. It makes me sad. The first year that it was permitted, it started off great. My friend was in charge of it. It was full of like hippies and jam bands, and the weather was perfect, and it was just great. It was what a 420 rally should be. And they've just gone downhill since. After that one, they've turned into, I don't know. I don't want to sit here and talk shit about it because they're fun, but it's just gang-filled shit. You know?
Well, it's lots of kids, and it's just, I mean, it's not the message and not the image that I think most people want to portray.
Right. But it is what it is. So, but if you want to go to a more stoner-friendly event, the Cannabis Cup. And there will be events all over the Denver area.
I think, again, there's going to be an issue with smoking because this year it's going to be at the, it's not going to be at.
It's not at the Expo?
It's going to be at, I don't know why I'm
way
blanking.
too big.
It's going to be at not the conventions.
Denver Merchandise Mart.
The Merchandise Mart, thank you. It's going to be at the Merchandise Mart where there is no smoking.
Well, they had to dick around with that last year. And for the LA Cup, it was supposed to be in Los Angeles. Then it moved to, I don't remember. I want to say maybe Burbank and then to San Bernardino. And that's where it ended up. It needs to be in somewhere that permits smoking. Nobody goes to the Cannabis Cup is going to pay $200 for a VIP pass and stand there with their thumb up their ass.
Well, I mean, some people might do that.
Some, but it'll be a bunk event. But that won't happen. High Times won't do that. So they'll search around until they find somewhere.
We'll keep you posted.
So, yeah. But that's coming up quick. So fucking book your flights. Southwest.
Check airsafe.com before you travel with anything, though.
Right.
Make sure you know how to not be stupid.
Now, see, one thing that he probably hasn't covered or isn't covering yet is transportation of slabs of BHO. Bum, bum, bum. But slabs of BHO don't show up as anything. So you can store those safely in your carry-on or your
But that would be illegal.
Yes, we don't necessarily condone the illegal
No.
activity. We're just throwing out there our past experiences, and I just want to put out there that I have safely, on multiple times, traveled with slabs, and it's been totally fine.
Slabs.
I guess that makes it sound larger than they are, but whatever. Although I did go out to the Cannabis Cup in San Bernardino last year, and I brought out a small amount that would be considered slab worthy. But that's where it was.
You're here. I need you here.
Stop admitting things on air. Hey, that was last year. I might or might not have flown with those things. There we go. See, I was even talking about that earlier. You have to learn how to word things properly.
That's right.
So that's tonight's lesson. That's why we stayed on the air extra late, so we can learn what again? How to word things properly.
So you want to hear what's going on the rest of the week?
Yes.
So the Adam Dunn Show is on from 11:30 to 1:30 on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we have a little bit of a programming change in the lab with Jennifer Murray from Can Labs is moving from Mondays to Thursdays. She'll be on from 2:30 to 3:30. Then at 4 o'clock, the Hemp Connoisseur will be on. And, of course, we will be on next Monday from 7 to 8. And you know what? Reefer Madness with Citizen J and Mark is going to come back. We don't have a date yet, but their hiatus is going to come to an end. So we're really happy about that. We want to thank our sponsors, Edson Maton and Mats, Mile High Wellness, Noda Urban Garden Supply, Edson Maton and Mats again. I don't know why I thank them twice because I can't
Because
read.
we use their studio and because you're in Edson.
Oh,
So bam. It gets
bam. Bam.
to bam.
Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, Run on Grass, and of course, my favorite sponsor of all, Cuffle Collimore and Company. If you don't know how to get insurance for your marijuana business, or you don't know if you're fully covered, you need to go to cufflecollimore.com, KUFFELCOLLIMORE.com. There's a link on our website. one of the few companies that can actually write you all kinds of more than just your slip and fall insurance, but can write you crop insurance, can also help you. If someone were to get sick on your product, they can actually sue you even if you didn't make that product. So make sure that you're covered. Call Cuffle Collimore and Company, ask for Bob, or email him at bob@cufflecollimore.com and ask for a quote, and he'll be happy to help you out. And that's about all we got tonight.
Stay out of the left lane. I want to add that because I forgot. It popped into my head in my public service announcement. Like if you're driving out there, stay out of the left lane.
And take the Christmas lights off.
Left lane is for passing. Left lane is for passing. Christmas lights are for Christmas. Winter lights are for while it's snowing out. We'll see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.